Let the ranking commence. Hello, fellow book nerds, this is Gabby, and today I thought let's sit down for a nice and cozy video. It is that wonderful time where the year is new, and therefore we want to reflect, and I thought, what is better than reflecting on your reading in 2023? So I have done lists of my best books of the year and my worst books of the year, but I'm all about new releases here, and I have read 46 of them. So I thought, what if we ranked them? And I love ranking videos. I think they're super fun, and they're a little bit of like a nice, cozy, chill vibe. So we've got the fireplace on, which is really my TV, and I hope you can't see that most of the time, but that's why my head is awkwardly here. And I have a cozy sweater, and I've got my laptop with the tier ranking. So essentially, if you've never seen a video like this, if you've not seen my video, a video of me doing this for 2022 book releases. So essentially, I will go through all of the new releases I read this year, which is 46 books, and put them in one of 7 categories. The categories go from kind of the worst to best, and these are the categories. I'm actively upset, so that's the lowest a book can get, and that means it actually pissed me off, done something problematic. I think, if book burning was still a thing, maybe this one should be a candidate for it, is all I'm saying. Which seems really harsh, so probably shouldn't be saying that. As always, all in good fun. Let's not take this too seriously. But category number 6 is wet tissue of a book. Wet tissue to me is just something meh. Like, I used up tissue a little, but maybe it wasn't necessarily offensive, but it was just meh. I'm not actively gonna sit here and be upset about it, but it was meh. Then we have legit zero memory of this, because when I looked back on some of the books in preparation, I was like, I read that? Wow, I have not a single thought in my head. So that means you were pretty forgettable. Admittedly, this video will cover a year's worth of books, and I have read 123 as of right now, but still, it's not a good sign if you were completely forgotten. Then we have I Fell Asleep. This just means it was boring. Not necessarily bad book, but I just felt very meh about the whole thing. It was really boring. I swear there will be difference in these tiers, hopefully, as we go through it. I don't like just having like 3 tiers, which is like good, bad, and medium. I wanted to like dig deeper, because if I wanted to just give out rating from 1 to 5, I would give it stars. But this is deeper than that. We're going in. And then we have I Respect It. I respect what it tried to do. I think objectively it's a decent book, and I think maybe I'm not the target audience, maybe it wasn't for me, but I respect the hustle and I respect what the book was trying to do. Then the penultimate tier is nearly perfect. So these are books that I can think of 1, 2 small complaints, or maybe can't even think of a complaint. It just didn't quite hit that final status of perfection, but it was still really, really, really good. And then magnum opus. Does that literally have to mean magnum opus of an author? No. If you know what magnum opus is, it's like the definitive work of an artist. But I just think it's a masterpiece, a wonderful book that I have no notes because it's perfect and I love it. So let's dive into the books. Let's have fun with it. Again, this is for fun. And in the comments, I want to know, what 2023 releases have you read? What did you think about them? And do you have anything on this list that you disagree with me vehemently? Because I want to know. Okay, so book number 1 is The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. So this is a thriller novel about an author who's going on a writing retreat with her ex-best friend, and the writing retreat is with her all-time favorite author, and it gets weird. Okay, The Writing Retreat. I love this book. I put it on my favorite books of the year. I just think it was so fun, so fresh, and kind of over the top, my favorite type of thriller, really. So I'm gonna put this in Magnus Opus because I feel like for this type of thriller, it was a masterpiece. Then we have The Witch and the Vampire. So this is a queer sapphic retelling of Rapunzel. I will say, I feel like it was entirely forgettable. I think that's legit zero memory of this. I don't remember pretty much anything that happened or my feelings about it. I did a review. I think I'm too nice in my initial reviews, and I think I need to change that because they all turn a positive, and then I step back and I have time to think about it, and I'm like, huh. Then Warrior Girl Unearthed. So this one is by a Native American author talking about a girl who works at a camp and works really hard to bring back the remains of one of her ancestors home. There's like a little murder mystery bit to it and a thrillery bit, and I really, really enjoyed it. It's by the author of The Firekeeper's Daughter, and I didn't quite like as much as Firekeeper's Daughter, but I still think it was such a valuable, amazing story to be told. I think the main character was maybe slightly unlikable, but she really grew through it, and it just had so many moving elements, and I always learned so much reading the author's books. So I will put it in the nearly perfect category. Okay, then we have Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers, which is a murder mystery where we follow an elderly shopkeeper, and she finds a dead body in her tea shop and decides that who better to solve the mystery than an old Chinese auntie. I love this book. This is a magnum opus. Like, the author also wrote Dial 8 for Aunties, which I really liked. But this one I might like even more. Like, it had the most wonderful found family. It just made me think so much about my family. And it was just, yeah, it was just a wonderful experience. I loved it. Oh my god, there's like just banger after banger. So then we have Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. So this was actually my favorite book of the year. So probably no surprise, but this is going to the magnum opus category. I feel like this is going to be skewed. But yeah, this is going to a magnum opus category. So in this one, we follow two people who are reconnected after many years, and due to miscommunication, there's a lot of tension there. But it's set in, I think, 1800s Mexico, and it's kind of a forbidden romance kind of vibe. I loved it. I loved the relationship. I loved the horror elements of it. I just thought it was such a perfect book. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in magnum opus, you bet. And I hope that not everything will go in magnum opus, because that just makes me look like I have no critical thinking skills. Okay, then we have Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. This is a novella, and it's by the author of Jade City, and it's about this woman trying to become a griffin rider. I will say I don't remember the plot that well, so you would think that would put it in legit zero memory of this category, but I won't. I really, really liked this. I don't remember what I liked about it. I don't remember what I liked about it, but I did like it. Is it nearly perfect, or I respect it? I'm gonna put it in the nearly perfect. Then we have Silver Nitrate by Silvia Moreno Garcia. So this book is about this group, two friends who are both kind of in the movie business, and one day they meet this really like prolific indie filmmaker who thinks that he's been cursed, and they help him take away the curse. I really, really enjoyed this book. I thought it was so well written. I love the horror elements of it. I love the discussions of like the movie industry, and it also had Nazis and occultism in it. It was like a whole package, and I love the relationship between the two main characters, because they were just so complicated and so intricate and toxic, but kind of worked, and I really, really enjoyed that bit of it. So yeah, so I'm gonna say Silver Nitrate is nearly perfect. I don't think it's Silvia Moreno Garcia's magnum opus, because I read Mexican Gothic and I loved it so much, but like I really, really, really enjoyed it. Then we have Delicious Monsters, which is a book, a queer YA novel about this girl who goes on this like, okay, I think she got chased by a serial killer and then survived, and the serial killer died. But that happened when she was quite young, and she's super traumatized from it. And then there's this like cult of personality attached to the serial killer, and there's people who like go on these retreats where they're like talk about the serial killer. I don't know, there's some weird people out there. But she joins one of these retreats because she wants to go visit the place where she got chased and the serial killer died, because she's carrying so much trauma and she wants to let go of that. This book was really weird. I remember it kind of being like a paranormal thing. It was just like a lot, but I loved that a lot. Like, I thought it was just really well done and it gave me the creeps. It was really weird and eerie, and the relationship was, I remember, quite compelling. I don't know if it was the healthiest, but I remember it was compelling. Okay, I'm gonna put it in nearly perfect, and let's hope we get to some other books now, other ratings. And we will immediately, because Flax is a book that made me add that I've forgotten everything about this category. So, I have no clue what this book is about. I have no real recollection. I remember reading it. I know I read it as an audiobook, but I have no plot recollection whatsoever. I know it's a sci-fi. I know it's an adult sci-fi. And I think it's got something to do with like parallel worlds and stuff like that. But I have no clue. And we have like so many other books to get through. So we're just gonna put it in legit zero memory of this. Should I just have like I just had fun category? I feel like maybe I should. I love it when I start questioning everything midway through the video. We're gonna put I just had fun. I'm gonna make it pink because why not? Okay, this I had fun category will just be for books that you're like, is this a magnum opus? Is it nearly perfect? No. Why am I having a darn good time? Yes, and that's what that category is gonna be for. So we are rejigging. I don't think any of the other books should go in this category, so we're just gonna leave it as is. Next book is Lives of Puppets by TJ Klune. So this one is like a retelling of Pinocchio, and instead of puppet, he's a robot. Like, I have barely any memories of this book, but I think I remember I was quite disappointed and it just kind of left meh right away. It feels harsh to put it in a wet tissue of a book, but I just think from what I remember, it was very anticlimactic. Then we have Chain Gang All Stars, which is a very interesting book. So this one is about this dystopian future where prisons now run like these gladiator style tournaments where the inmates can fight for their freedom. So it's a lot of commentary about the American prison system and in general how broken prison systems are, and violence as entertainment, very reminiscent of like Hunger Games, like I would say Hunger Games for adults. But it's got a sapphic romance at the helm of it, and I just thought it had so many interesting points to make and just so much commentary and thought-provoking questions posed that I just thought it was a brilliant book, and I want to put it in magnum opus because it was just really, really good. Is this for that? Oh, finally figured it out. Okay, yeah, it was brilliant, like really amazing book. You should totally read it if you're interested at all in like learning more about social justice and prison systems, and if you enjoy a dystopian, like I just think this book should be mandatory reading for everyone. Okay, then we have The Ashes of the End-Starred Curse King. So this is book 2 in a series where there's like vampires, and so yeah, there's this kingdom filled with vampires, and the vampire king's daughter is a human, so he like adopts her after whole family dies, and she kills vampires for sports and is going to participate in this competition to gain and favor from their goddess. This was just so much. It's just good fun. I love a romantasy. I think it was just well written. The relationship was compelling. The characters were compelling. I read both of the books super quickly, and I just had darn fun with it. Then Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. So Immortal Longings is a newest from Chloe Gong, who's the author of These Violent Delights, and this is a sci-fi dystopian retelling of Antony and Cleopatra. And I would put it in the nearly perfect category. It definitely maybe had some flaws, but I thought the magic system was super interesting. The world setup that was really interesting. I think maybe slightly more could have been done to build atmosphere. But the relationship was fascinating, and I'm just so curious to see where it's going. So I'm putting it in nearly perfect. Then Lies We Sing to the Sea, which is a sapphic retelling of the Odyssey. I'm sorry, but that's gonna be a wet tissue of a book. It was on my worst books of the year list. It's had some controversies associated with it, but for me, mostly, I just feel like it didn't live up to what I think a Greek myth retelling should do, and it didn't quite appreciate the source material enough. Not that I have read the Odyssey, so I really have nothing to stand on. But yeah. Okay, then we have He Who Drowned the World, which is a sequel to She Who Became the Sun. And this is a gender bent retelling of the rise to power of the first emperor of the Ming Dynasty. I think I got that right. Honestly, it was nearly perfect. Was it hard to read because everyone's so unlikable and you're just kind of exhausted? Yeah. Was it also an amazing study of characters and did it just blow my mind so many times? And did it have the most like intricate, interesting analysis of these people? Yes. So I'm gonna put it in nearly perfect. Then we have Last Vine Call, which is a novella, which is a sequel to Foul Lady Fortune, which is another book by Chloe Gong. And this novella kind of follows characters from These Violent Delights. I had fun with this one. Would I put it in like up there with the best books I read this year? No. But it had darn good fun and I loved going back to these characters and following them again. Yeah. Okay, then we have Hellbent by Lee Bardugo. So if you don't know, this is a sequel to The Knife House, which is a kind of adult horror first in a series where a student at Yale can see ghosts and is part of the secret societies that can control magic. I thought this was fun. I had fun. It lived up to the promise of book one. It had really interesting plots. It had really interesting character work. There was more Darlington in it. And it just got me really excited for book three, which hopefully will come out sometime next year or at least the year after. Then we have The House with Good Bones by T. Kingfisher, which is funny because I read this book because I'm determined to love something by T. Kingfisher because I loved one of their books. And I think that was what moves that. I could not tell you the plot of this book if you paid me. I cannot remember. I don't even think I liked it that much when I was reading. So it's gonna have to go to legit zero memory of this. Next up is a book you probably don't even realize I read, but it's X's and O's, which is a romance, a rom-com kind of book. I picked it up while on holiday. My friend just finished reading it and she had the copy and I just felt like everyone's reading rom-coms. I want to read a rom-com. So it was really fun. It was a great time. I remember really enjoying it. I don't entirely remember what this one's about. I think something to do with a podcast, but it doesn't matter. I don't remember because it's a rom-com. I remember loving it in the moment, having the feelings, the butterflies. Like it was just a good time. So I'm going to put it in the I had fun category. Then Lost in the Moment and Found, which is the newest novella in the Wayward Children series, and that's a series by Shauna McGuire where we follow children who go through different worlds and then come back to our real world and kind of struggle with being taken out of that magical setting. In this one, I think it's the one where we follow a person who got stuck in between worlds. I remember loving it. It was probably one of the favorite of the Wayward Children series. It's such a mixed bag with the Wayward Children series. I feel like I can have an extreme like the first book, and I can have like a oh my god, I like had an epiphany moment. So it kind of depends which stories are for you. But I want to put it in nearly perfect. I just remember finding it really profound and it being super beautiful. I put Delicious Monsters twice. How did that happen? Then Hokey Pokey is a book I read very recently. I got an arc of it last year and then didn't read it in time. But this is like a 1920s murder mystery with a sci-fi twist. So we have a main character who can mimic really well. So she can basically has like a photographic memory, can hear something once and remember it, read something once, remember it forever. And she can also mimic other people's voices really well. And a friend of her asked her to tail his wife on a trip because he wants to find out if the wife is cheating. And maybe there's some obsession going on. I was not ready for this book, but I respect it. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it particularly, but I did not enjoy it. And that's all you can ask for. And I get what I was trying to do. It's definitely got that like toxic love, obsession kind of thing. And I know some people really enjoy that. And I sometimes do too. So yeah, I respect it. Then Bruges by Mona Awad. So this one is like it's pitched as Eyes Wide Shut meets Snow White. And I just found the book very anticlimactic. Like I get that it was trying to say things, but I don't think it said them very successfully. It was just ultimately quite a confused, jumbled mess. And for that reason, I will say I'm actively upset because expectations were high and they were not met. And also, I feel like the book didn't really know what it was trying to do. It's maybe wet tissue of a book is better. Okay, wet tissue of a book is more fair. I think that's true. So we're gonna put it in the wet tissue of a book, but I would not recommend it. Then we have Stolen Air by Holly Black, which is a new kind of companion series to The Cruel Prince. We follow characters who we meet in The Cruel Prince, so like a younger brother of the prince from Cruel Prince. So it's like a fairies type story, and we follow this girl who's like a creature, not a human, and she kind of grew up in the human world thinking she's a freak, and she's got blue skin and stuff. I was shocked how much I liked this. Do I remember that many details? No, but I had a lot of fun with this book, and I'm definitely reading the sequel. I need to refresh my memory slightly because I think this book came out like really early 2023. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. I remember thinking writing was so much better than the Cruel Prince, which has no good writing. Murder in a Family is a funny one because I legit filmed a whole vlog for this one single book where I tried to solve the murder mystery. Because the whole premise of the book is that there is a murder mystery, it's multimedia, and it kind of help you are able to go along and solve the mystery as it goes. And like I filmed the whole video and I forgot to edit it. Like I forgot that there was raw footage that I was meant to edit. And then time passed and I just did not feel like passionate about it anymore. I think this book was very meh, if I'm being honest. I don't really remember the mystery too much. It wasn't like a riveting murder mystery either, so I would put it in the I fell asleep. And then we have Mimicking of Known Success, which is a novella in a new series, which is kind of like a murder mystery detective thing, but it's also sapphic and it's sci-fi set on this like faraway planet. And I think I respected it more than I liked it. I think the world was interesting and imaginative, and I think the relationship was cool, although it's kind of like a second chance romance because they used to be together and now they're like getting back together. But in the end, like the mystery itself, I don't think I found very compelling from what I remember. I just kind of thought it was okay. Okay, then we have How to Sell Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. So this book is a horror about two siblings who have to sell their house after their parents died. Spoiler alert, the house might be haunted. And it's an amazing book. It's like a metaphor for the stages of grief and generational trauma, and it's got scary puppets, and I had absolutely no notes. I loved it so much, it made it onto my best books of the year list, which feels wild, like a scary puppet book. But I've been thinking about it a lot. I think it's just so memorable, and executed flawlessly. So I'm gonna put it in the magnum opus, which is good because we've not had a magnum opus in a while. But the highest highs are usually followed by lowest lows, which is why we're going to talk about Witch King, which is Martha Wells's new book. So Witch King is a fantasy standalone that should be a series about an interesting world, but ultimately flat plot and characters. So we follow this character who wakes up in a new body with kind of no memory how they got there, and it's this world where demons can come up from the underworld and steal bodies, and there's been this eternal war that's now kind of coming back. A lot of interesting concepts, ultimately incredibly confusing, did not know what I wanted to say, too many ideas, too little page count. I was like, I'm okay if this is a series because I think as setup, there's interesting ideas there. But then as it's not, it's a standalone, which just makes it so incredibly confusing. I'm actively upset about it because I was so confused the whole time and just frustrated at how little sense everything made. And then another book I did not like. It's called And Break the Pretty Kings. So this one is by a South Korean author, and we follow this girl who due to her mother's poor health has to become an empress at a very young age, and she goes through a series of trials to see if she can contain this great evil. Very repetitive, very poor characterization. The characters just kept telling us how amazing the MC is without like any proof or validation of that. And ultimately, I am actively upset at it, at such high expectations. Then we have 0 Days by Ruth Ware. And I did not like this book either. So this one is Ruth Ware's newest, which is a kind of like action thriller where we follow this woman who gets falsely accused of her husband's murder, and she tries to figure out what happened. The book is super miserable because you're just with this woman as she's like incredibly sick and depressed. But then also, so it has like a thrilling thriller, like an action thriller. But then I did not feel that thrilled. I didn't realize that this was this type of thriller. I'm more of a slow, unraveling mystery girly. So this just I would call a wet tissue of a book. I did not have fun with it whatsoever, and I was really excited. So that's quite disappointing. Then we have Broken Perfect Lies, which is by Katie Wismer, who's a booktuber I really enjoy and I really like her books. She wrote this series called Marionettes, which I think is a really good paranormal series. And I just like really enjoy her books. I think she gets better with every book. And this one is a twist on Hannah Montana. So there's this girl who has a secret identity that she's this very famous singer, and she gets like a stalker or something, and she has to hire a bodyguard. So it's a bodyguard romance. I had fun with it. I would describe it as that. Is this my new favorite romance? No, but I really enjoyed my time reading it. I thought it was like fun and sexy and all the things that romance meant to be. So yeah, I had fun. It had really good characters, like Katie Wismer's really good books. Then we have Lone Woman, which is a horror novel about a woman who has her whole family dies and she escapes the night that it happens, and she has this trunk, very clearly sinister, and her burden. I think this book had a lot of potential and a lot of things it wanted to say, but ultimately I fell asleep. I did not find this book really interesting. It was quite tiresome and tedious, and you're just there and you figure that they tell you the mystery so early, and ultimately I was shocked at the reveal, but a lot more could have been done with the concept. And Chain of Iron is the final book in the latest Cassandra Clare trilogy in the Shadowhunters universe. Yeah, I barely remember why, but this did not live up to my hype. I loved book 2 so much, and I remember just thinking, this is not good. So I'm gonna put it in the wet tissue of a book because I actually think to fumble the bag this hard is kind of impressive. Then McMaster's Guide to Homicide was an exciting book because I won some kind of like Twitter giveaway or something. So I got my first like physical book sent to me from a publisher. And I think this one is really fun. It's about this school for people who want to murder their bosses. I would say I had fun with it. I would maybe continue. I think it was like cheeky and fun, and that's sometimes what you want. Mammoths at the Gate is the newest novella in the Singing Hill cycle, first one being Empress of Salt and Fortune. So in this one, we followed a cleric who goes back to their monastery, and there's a lot of changes. I did think this book was incredibly nostalgic and melancholy, and it talked a lot about changes and where you come from and coming home and accepting things that need to change, and like it deals with someone passing away in the cleric's life and them dealing with that grief. And for all of those reasons, I will say I respect it a lot. I think it did a service to the story it tried to tell, and I think it was told well. But personally, did I have a great time reading it? No. Was I maybe not in like the best of mindsets? I guess that could be it. Then we have Midnight is the Darkest Hour, which is a book by Ashley Winstead. It's a thriller, kind of. It's about this girl who lives in this ultra conservative town. She's the daughter of a preacher, and one day a body gets found in the marshes, and she is really worried about what that might uncover from her past. I loved this book. I thought it was executed amazingly. It talks so much about religious trauma, generational trauma, abuse from your parents, and abuse from the system, charismatic leaders. I just thought, it had so much to say. To me, it's a magnum opus. I still loved In My Dreams I Hold a Knife. But again, this doesn't have to be the best work by the author, but I think it's up there. And yeah, it was on my favorites of the year list, and I just enjoyed it, had so much fun with it, and yeah, it's up there. I always get this title wrong. Song of Silver Flame Like Night. See, I will really enjoy this book, but it came out in like January, and if I have to tell you the plot, I will struggle. I know it's a high fantasy set in like a China inspired world, and I think there's a girl and a guy for sure, and there's some kind of journey. And I know you will be like, Gabby, you literally have no clue what this book is about. Should you really put it anywhere but legit zero memory of this category? And I see where you're coming from, but I really had fun with it. I really want to read the sequel. I need to remind myself what will happen in this book. I think my poor memory should not reflect poorly on the book. Okay, then we have The Only One Left by Riley Sager. So this is kind of a horror where we follow a girl who becomes a caretaker to this woman who is believed by the whole town to have killed her entire family, but is now severely disabled, and the woman offers to tell the story to the main character. This is a magnum opus. It had so many thrills and excitement and plot twists, and I just thought it was like brilliantly done. I really, really enjoyed it, and I thought it was like a really fun book. I have like no notes. Like I read this and I was like, oh my god, the reveal. And then I read it and I was like, oh my god, reveal point 2. And I was like, reveal point 3. And you're just really overwhelmed by how amazing it is. So yeah, I had a great time with this book, and it's a magnum opus for Riley Sager for sure. Although I really liked his other horror novel, Home Before Good Dark. Yeah, he's just really good at horror. Thriller, I'm not sure, but horror, really good. Then Blood Debts. So this book is one that tricked me because it was an arc, and I thought that it was a historical because of the outfits on the cover, but it's not. It's like set in the current time. And I know it's about these twins who can like do magic. I think they live in New Orleans, and I think their father dies, and there's some kind of mystery of that. I would put it in the I fell asleep. I remember really being bored and not wanting to read anymore, and not being compelled particularly by anything that happened, but I don't remember that much of it, so let's just leave it at that. So Four from by Rebecca Yarros is like a very well-known romantasy, but in it we've this woman who wants to become a dragon rider. And this is a super competitive world where that's a very dangerous thing to be. I had fun. I'm putting it in the fun category. Same with the sequel, because it re-sparked my love of romantasy. I used to read so much of it and not so much anymore, and I just honestly like devoured this book. Okie dokie, then we have Cassandra Clare's Swordcatcher. So this is her first, or like first in a while. I don't know if she used to have any other books before Shadowhunters, but this is an adult fantasy about this guy who his whole life has been trained to be the sword catcher for the prince, which means he's like doppelganger who gets sent as a decoy to different things. At the time when I read it, I thought it was okay. The more time passes, the more I think it's very, very meh. So I'm going to put it in the I fell asleep category because I feel like it could have done a lot of interesting things and it didn't. And it was quite boring. And I think that's shocking because Cassandra Clare, if one thing she can do is make you care about the characters and the angst between them, whereas I did not really care about the angst between these characters, and I don't really know where it's going. Will I read the sequel? Probably, because I'm curious. Okay, then we have The Haunting of Alejandra. So this is a horror novel about a mother who's struggling with depression, and she sees this figure of La Llorona, which is like the drowned woman, which is a like prominent part of Mexican folklore. I thought this book was like nearly perfect. It talked so much about grief, about depression, about pressures put on you by society, and I think it was just executed so well. I had like a great time with it. Well, no, that's a lie. It was hard to read and it was really depressing, but I think it talked about really important topics, and I enjoyed my time reading it, so I'm gonna put it there. Then Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. So this one is about a girl who lives in a small town, has had to take care of her brother for a long time, works a minimum wage job, and is not entirely happy where she is at life, but thinks that's just the lot she's been dealt. And then she gets a job in this place called Starling House as a cleaning lady, and it's a house that's always been in her thoughts. I really liked it. I feel like I need to put it at magnum opus because it was like top two, three of my favorite books of the year. So it just gotta go there. Okay, two more books to go. Yellowface by Rebecca Kwong. So this book is about this woman who steals her friend's work after her death and assumes like a ethnically ambiguous work and name, and as a white woman passes off this work by an Asian woman as her own book. It's gotta be a magnum opus. It's just such an amazing story, really powerful examining of racism, publishing industry, trends, cancel culture, and it was a fascinating read. Okay, and the last book is Those People Next Door. So this book is about these two families. One of them moves in and they're, I think, Middle Eastern, and they're having like troubles with the neighbors, and their son gets involved with the neighbor's son in a way, and there's like a big legal case. So this is a legal thriller. I would say I respect it more than I enjoyed it. I think the topic is very important. Do I respect it? I think like it made some weird choices in terms of like the characterizations, and it also the final decisions made by people, and it was quite a wild ride. I did not know where this would go, and it did not go where I expected. So that was quite surprising. I was like, what now? Interesting. So I think I respect what I tried to do. I don't know if that entirely accomplished it. I don't have a category like that, so I'm just gonna put it in this one and we're gonna call it a day. Okay, so those are all the 2023 releases I read. I do think I missed one because there's a doubling of Delicious Monsters, but I already forgot to record the screen for part of this video, so I'll have to go again and try to fix that. So in order not to spend any more time here, because this will already be a long video and you're probably sick of me, let's call it a day and say these are the 2023 releases I have read. These are my thoughts about them. Do you disagree, agree with any of them? Do you think any other 2023 releases are worth my time and I should check them out? Let me know in the comments. But in the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful new year. If this is the first video you're seeing from me, I'm not actually sure about that. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed the video, if you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really, really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But that's it from me, and I'll see you in my next one.